stand, if you would, please, as we give the invocation and as we pledge of allegiance to the American flag. Would you bow your heads with me as we pray? Almighty God, we come before you today to give you honor and praise because you are worthy of praise. You're the source of all that is good, and you're the source of all of our blessings, and we thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for this gathering today. We thank you for the Community Character Coalition that brings this event together. We ask that you bless them. We thank you for the opportunity to gather with each other in this great fellowship, and we ask your hand of blessing upon this meeting today. We ask that you would guide and direct as we're gathered here, and we ask your protection, and we ask your hand of provision. We thank you for this food that was provided for us, and we ask now that you would nourish it to our bodies, for we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Now let's pledge allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated.
Good morning, Douglas County. Don't we have a lot of talent here in our schools? I want to welcome each and every one of y'all. We have elected officials here, both from the city and from the county, and we possibly could have a couple of state officials. But I also want to recognize public safety, both from the city and the county. Your presence honors us. And teachers, we can't forget our teachers. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the commitment that you have toward our children. We've often repeated at this breakfast, and I'm going to do it again so that you'll remember it. To educate a child in mind and not morals is to create a menace to society. And so that's what the Character Coalition is all about. We work with the school system because we are a community of character. We have a resolution both from the city and the county declaring us a community of character. So, why did the chicken cross the road? To let the possum know it could be done. And so, we want to prove here in Douglas County that integrity and good is not dead. And that's why we work together with our schools, our government, and the Character Coalition to bring things like this. But character, I don't know if you know this, character is actually taught in our schools. It was declared, it was passed in a law back in 1999 that we would educate our children on character traits. And I think that we see a difference because of this education being done. So thank you for being here and helping us to congratulate character. We will be giving, we have a speaker today that's going to be talking about leadership, which is a character trait. And we also will be awarding some scholarships for students that emulate good character during their school years. I have been asked to announce another event here in Douglas County, and it's going to be the 2014 Douglas County Shoebox Project. And it's going to be through United Way, and it's going to be May 1st. And Ilana Myers, our Olympic medalist, will be the keynote speaker. It's going to be at the conference center, the city conference center, at 7:30 on May 1st. And it's to help the homeless women and children. You may not know that we have homeless women and children here in Douglas County, but we do, and this is a great project, and we ask for you to support that too. As I said, character legislation did pass in 1999, and I would like to honor my board. If you would all stand, and I will display the names. There's too many of us. But we have people from all walks of life, from judges to elected officials to just everyday folks, I guess you'd say. And we have a very diverse board, and I appreciate each and every one of them. And while I'm thinking about it, Russ Roper, who prepared the meal today, I want to thank him for a job well done. Taste of Douglasville. How do we make our money to give these scholarships? Mostly through two projects. One is through a calendar that we produce each and every year, and we produce about 3,000 of them. And it's a good opportunity for you to advertise your business. And just think you have a whole month's supply, exposure out there just for just a small amount of money. So we've got some slots open, so contact me or one of the board members. Check out our website. Got a lot of good stuff out there. And we have our upcoming events. We have some contact information with our board. We have taped forums on bullying and things like that, social networking. And we also honor the character students that go to the Board of Commissioners meeting and the City Council meetings each month. And it's sweet, let me tell you. We've had some that's in about this high stand up and talk about character. And if that doesn't soften your heart, nothing will. We also have another project coming up, and this big fellow right down here is going to be in charge of it, Julian Carter. And who in Douglas County doesn't know Julian Carter? That's all. But it's a family gathering. It's going to be a golf tournament. Like we have our grandchild play with me and my husband and a friend. It's a fun event. It brings families together, and that's what the Character Coalition is about. I'm going to also quote a famous man named Walt Disney. I hope everybody in here has heard of them with all this generational gap. Our greatest natural resource is the minds of our children. And let me tell you, the best example that you can be will influence that mind. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rhoda Casete. I attend Douglas County High School, and I'm a Reach Scholar. I was asked today to give you an understanding of what the word appreciation means to me. Now, appreciation is defined as an expression of admiration, approval, or gratitude. But I believe that we must appreciate our past and those who have helped us get to where we are in order to appreciate ourselves and where we're headed. We must all develop an attitude of giving thanks for everything that has already happened to us and develop an understanding that every moment and every action leads us to where we're going. Often we forget to appreciate the little things, like your parents always being there for you, your mentor carrying up to be a part of your life, and your country for being a safe place where everyone has an opportunity to make something of themselves and is guaranteed an education. But when we step back for a moment, the realization sinks in that you would not be the person you are without a combination of all of these things. And to me, that is true appreciation. Acknowledging the fact that you are not you until a combination of many different people in many different aspects of your life direct you and care enough about you to help you become the person you're meant to be. I was fortunate enough to have such people, and I think all of you in this room have someone who is that person to you. And so I think the people who have gotten us to where we are and will continue to help mold us to become the people we're supposed to be are the ones who deserve our appreciation. And I plan to pass on the kindness I received to someone and hopefully make as big of an impact on their lives as the people who have surrounded me have made in mine. Thank you.
Colonel Danny R. McKnight graduated from Florida State University as a distinguished military graduate. After obtaining his bachelor's in management, he completed the Infantry Officer Basic Course and Airborne and Ranger schools. He later earned his master's degree in higher education from the University of Florida. Colonel McKnight's long and dedicated military service has earned him many awards and decorations, some of which include the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star with Valor, and the Gold Star Cluster on his jump wing for his combat jump in Panama. His military career spanned nearly 20 years, and his experience in Mogadishu was the subject of the movie Black Hawk Down. His final assignment was to serve as the Chief of Staff for the First Army before retiring on January 1st, 2002. Colonel McKnight's vast military experience and his extensive education make him one of the most sought-after speakers. In addition to his experience in Somalia, he is a distinguished speaker on other subjects, such as leadership, management, team building, and homeland security.
Good morning, everyone. United Chief Police Womack, good to see you out, sir. Good to see you, Semper Fi to you. And from up here, the glory of the Lord is shining down on you too. Yes, sir. You know, it's an honor when someone can introduce a childhood friend. I've known Colonel McKnight for 50 years, almost a half a century. Come here, Dan. Now, one of us was the captain of the defense, and one of us was the captain of the offense for 3 years. I'll let you guess which one was who. Colonel McKnight was always a leader, as he is in life in the military. It is with great honor and great pleasure that I introduce my buddy, my pal, Colonel Danny McKnight.
Thank you. Please. Thank you.
Gary, I had no idea that you were going to say kind things, because I might have a thing or two that I need to say about you too. Gary and I do go back a long ways. I didn't really realize it was 50 years. Makes you really feel old, doesn't it, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I want y'all to understand, I have never been wired more than I am right now. I thought I had a lot of wires on, and
when I was in Somalia and places, like, if there's an electrical problem here, I'm going to die. I got it right now. I figured it out. But Gary and I and my wife, Linda's actually known Gary longer than I have because they went to the elementary school together. Gary and I started out in the 7th grade together. And Gary was always the big guy that played on defense, no doubt about it. And probably in those days, you were probably the only big guy that we had, you know. And I did get the privilege to play quarterback a little bit. And we had a good time, though. And when Gary called me and asked me about coming up here, and especially with what it was about, I'm sure he would tell you the answer was a very quick yes, okay? And for the privilege to be a part of this morning is greater than I can tell you, and especially to get to share it with Gary and what he does for the community and everything. And plus, I'm back in the state of Georgia, and I was born here in Columbus, Georgia. Lived there till I was 8 years old, and we moved to Florida. I am not a military brat, believe it or not. We just happen to live in Columbus, Georgia. And moved to Florida in 1959 when I was 8 years old, and grew up there. And now I live back there again. Linda and I have known each other since we were 9 years old. We met in the First Baptist Church of Cocoa, Florida, when we were 9 years old. We got married 8 years ago. It's a long story, folks, let me tell you. It really is. But amazingly enough, we met in the First Baptist Church of Cocoa, Florida, and we're now members of that same church again, you know. And I've been privileged to do the service about 3 times, and I get to do Father's Day this year in that church. It's an amazing circle sometimes of what life is all about. And the best part of it is we don't know what it is, and it's a good thing, because we probably screw it up, you know. So there's a plan for each and every one of us, and we know that, but there's only one person in charge of that plan. And thank goodness he's looking down on us today. I'm very happy that Gary asked me to be here, and that all of you are here. And you know, it's amazing the things that do happen. A young man who I got to see a little while ago for the first time in quite a few years. A former Ranger in 3rd Ranger Battalion, now a deputy sheriff, and he was in 3rd Battalion and Charlie Company when we jumped in Panama in 1989, and I hadn't seen him, and I was talking to him and mentioned a few things. He said, well, your memory's still okay. I'm old, but I'm not dead. It's okay, all right? But Ranger Robert Fuller, who was a deputy sheriff just down the road a ways, he came here this morning so that he and I could reacquaint after all these years. So see, things happen for a reason. They really do. Well, Gary, I'm going to be nice now. I'll cut everything off there, all right? But a couple of things that thrill me about being here. The idea of character being mentioned is all it has to be to draw my attention very quickly. I am a full-time motivational speaker. I speak about 80 times a year across this great country of ours. I've had the privilege to speak in every state in the United States of America, every province in Canada and Puerto Rico numerous times. The major subject that I get to talk about, and I do it anywhere from 30 minutes today to a 7-hour day. You're not getting the long version, I promise you. It'll be the short version. But leadership is the number one and most important thing that I get to talk about. And I get to use my experiences of almost 30 years in the Army as part of that, because there's definitely a lot of connection between the two, as you can imagine. But leadership is so important, and when you talk about character, you're talking about, you better be focused on leadership too. And when I see all the young people sitting here, that's what's important to me today. The beautiful chorus that was up here, not only did you look beautiful, you sang beautifully, and thank y'all for that. But it's looking out at this audience this morning, and it's the young people. I mean, I love us old people too, don't get me wrong. But I know what the future of America is all about. And the future of America is these young people right here. Linda and I have 4 kids. The best part is we have 5 grandkids. They're our future. They're what we focus on. And we're very fortunate because all the kids and grandkids live within 28 miles of our house, which is a really good thing most of the time. Got to caveat it just a little bit, you know. And we've got them ranging from 22 years old, my oldest grandson, who's a junior in his junior year at University of Central Florida, down to our 3-month-old granddaughter. So we got a three-month-old granddaughter, a 3-year-old granddaughter, a 4-year-old grandson, a 17-year-old grandson, and a 22-year-old grandson. But they're the future. They are the future just like you are. And character is a big piece of that. When I talk about leadership, I use this little model that the Army's had, and I believe in it, and I can tell you all the services have a similar model. Not exactly the same, but very similar. And that little model has 7 letters in it that abbreviates the word leadership, LDRSHIP. Those 7 letters stand for loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Folks, all of that encompasses what we want to focus on called character, because it's a piece of every bit of that. Now, if I looked at just a few of those that I would highlight, because I can't talk about all of them, because we'll be here about 2 hours just talking about those 7 values, because that's how important they are to me. But I would focus on the I, integrity. See, I believe that integrity is something every one of us have the day we come into this world. It's very small, and as we grow, our integrity grows. And our integrity is based on what we experience every day in life. And if you're very fortunate, like I was, I know, and like Linda was, and like hopefully most of us in this room probably can say, we had great parents to learn from, because that's where we learned it from. We didn't just wake up one day and start thinking about these kind of things. And I was very fortunate with my family. Gary knew my father very well and my mother. And my father was very supportive of us playing sports. And I will tell you, it's a great character builder. It really is. And so there's things like that that matter. Well, integrity is so very, very important. Your integrity truly, truly defines who you are. And every one of us have it when we start in this world, and it grows as we grow. Your integrity defines who you are. I believe character is based on integrity. And I'm not just saying that today to you because Linda would tell you, I say it that way every time. Integrity equals character. It defines who I am and how I live every day. And every one of us have it. And we get to make the choice on how important we want to make that in our life, our integrity. Because as we go through life, whatever profession, whatever we choose to do, people are going to look at each and every one of us and say, wow, they have great character. That means they have integrity. And that's a big, big deal. It's because it leads to something else that I think is very important. That thing called honor, that H in my LDRSHIP. See, honor, I look at it a little differently than integrity. Integrity is an individual thing. It's what you and I, every one of us have. I believe honor is integrity multiplied, which means how important integrity is to honor. Because I believe honor is associated not with individuals, it's associated with organizations, agencies, groups of people, etc. When I see our people here in uniform, they represent honor. But I promise you, each and every one of them would tell you their integrity is what makes the profession honorable. Integrity multiplied equals honor. And it's sort of interesting when you think about integrity and honor and character. Because when I talk a lot, which I mostly, probably 65% of the time, talk to those in the professions of first responders, our military, law enforcement, fire and rescue, our first responder community. And I do speak to them probably 65% of the time, from the highest levels of DEA, ATF, FBI, all the way down to local law enforcement. And what I try to make them understand is that one of them in those professions can violate their integrity, go out and do something stupid, and bring dishonor on the entire profession they're part of. That's the reason character is so important. Our integrity is our character, and we have to make sure every day we take care of it and cherish who we are and what we are. Because even if you're not in those kind of professions, if you go out and do that thing you shouldn't do, you will bring dishonor on the people that you love and the people that surround you every day. Our character, if it's what we want it to be, will keep us from doing that. It truly will. See, I look at it this way as an example or two for you. I'll give you one very specific military example. The United States Army had an incident occurred during the war in Iraq at a prison called Abu Ghraib. How many people in here remember how awful that was, what happened there? Well, see, what happened there was those young soldiers, young just because they were younger than me, but they weren't young. They weren't 12 or 14 years old. They're in their 20s. But those soldiers failed to realize that they violated every piece of integrity in their body when they did what they did at that prison to those prisoners. I've had people say to me, well, maybe they just didn't get enough guidance on what to do. I said their guidance was based on their own integrity to do the right thing. See, we can't tell people that, well, we didn't know the right thing. We have our integrity, folks, and if you want people to look at you and say what great character they have, and you have, remember your integrity is what it's all about. Nobody can ever take your integrity from you. You can only compromise it yourself and give it up. And if you do something like that, you end up with an incident like Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, which brought great dishonor on the United States Army. And you have to struggle sometimes to recover from things like that, which the Army did, and they did recover from it. But we each one have to remember, and especially talking to the young people here, your integrity makes you who you are. People won't usually look at you and say what great integrity they have, but they will say, look at the character of that young man and that young lady. And see, that's what I want people to say about me. I want them to look at me and say, I have good character, because it means my integrity is exactly where I want it to be. So that's the challenge we have for you young people here. But for us older people, we still have the challenge to make them and help them and guide them and lead them so that they can be the best when we're gone that they are carrying on. So see, everybody in this room has that challenge today about character and making it what it is, and what a great thing to be a part of, the Character Coalition in Douglasville. When I did a little piece, I think y'all used it for maybe TV or whatever you used it for, you would not believe how hard it was to do that, because I couldn't get Character Coalition out, easily enough. But I did after about 4 tries and sent it to Gary. But character and the focus of this gathering this morning, that's a powerful thing to do. Now, I talked about those 7 values and how important they are. That little clip we saw up here, when I watched that, and I don't watch the movie Black Hawk Down too much, in all honesty, had somebody tell me the Sunday at church, did you know the movie Black Hawk Down was on again? I said, really? He said, yeah, did you watch it? I said, no. I don't need to watch it anymore. I've seen it a few times. Usually I've seen it with family because they wanted to grill me, on this and that. But see, when I look at that now, and I use it when I speak, it's a great example of integrity, honor, respect, selfless service. All of those values that I talked about of LDRSHIP. It's not just a battle to me, it's more. It's young men out there fighting in the streets for each other, defending their integrity, their honor, and taking care of each other. And we all will someday, somewhere, somehow, encounter a situation that's going to really challenge us. I believe everybody has that in their lifetime. If anybody never has a challenge to their integrity in their lifetime, they are a blessed person beyond belief, because it just happens. And I don't hope you ever encounter anything like that as a challenge, but challenges come in many different ways. It can be just simply meeting somebody on the street and you know they're not doing the right thing. And how do you handle that when that challenge is given to you? It's all part of life. So remember that your integrity defines you. Your integrity defines the people you're around, and most importantly, people will look at you and say, character. Wow, they've got it. Somehow they were brought up around the right people in the right places, and they learned it. So when I look at Black Hawk Down, I see it as an example of leadership and character and things of that nature. I was blessed to have a great family, and Gary, I know, would vouch for that as well. Well, let me ask you a few questions now about Black Hawk Down, because if I didn't say something about it, y'all are going to beat me up, and I know that. I can live with it. How many people read the book Black Hawk Down? Well, 2 hands maybe? Not real good at reading, are we, folks? How many people saw the movie Black Hawk Down? Oh, yeah. We're so much better at watching movies than reading books, you know? Well, I will tell you very quickly about the book Black Hawk Down, written by Mark Bowden. I think he did a phenomenal job. He got a lot of information that was declassified by the Pentagon that helped him. The book came out in 1998, and I say it's about 80 to 85% accurate. Very well done. My input to the book Black Hawk Down was 100% a zero. Mark Bowden and I never spoke. I had a rule. Well, Linda would say I have a lot of rules. My rule was I would not talk about anything that I did in my career until I retired and was out of uniform. That was my rule. And it was the right rule. The only thing I dislike about that rule was my father passed away 2 years before I retired, so I never ever got to sit down with my dad and talk about some of the things I would have liked to share with him. So that was the only bad part of that rule, but the rule was the right thing. I just don't believe you talk about stuff like that until you get out of it. Then you talk. So anyway, I think Mark Bowden did a great job, plus I have to sort of give him the benefit of the doubt. I did talk to him 5 years after the book came out, and we had a nice conversation. He did say, well, what do you think of the book? I said, I think you did a pretty good job. He said, anything particularly wrong? I said, well, since you asked. And I pointed out 2 things to him, but I told him, don't worry about it. I'll correct it when I write my book, which I did. But I have to sort of like him because he's got a second cousin by the name of Bobby Bowden, who is a great man, a great coach, but a great Christian leader. And he's a Florida State guy, and that's where I went to school too, so that's pretty cool, you know. And I got to meet Coach Bowden on a couple of different occasions. Had dinner with him, we did one night, and had an hour and a half in his office one-on-one, and it was pretty cool that day, first time, and he pulled the book Black Hawk Down from behind him. He said, yeah, Mark sent me this, said it was the first one he signed and sent to anybody. And Coach Bowden looked at me and handed it to me and said, would you mind signing my book? I thought, Bobby Bowden just asked if I would mind doing something for him, you know. Anyway, Mark Bowden did a good job. And the important part is if he hadn't written that book, you would have never known anything about what took place over there. And that would have been wrong, been very wrong, because you deserve to know. You deserve to know. Well, the movie was done in 2001, between April of 2001 and August of 2001. And the 2 people responsible for that were Ridley Scott and Jerry Bruckheimer, and they're pretty good at what they do, to put it politely. And That movie was released on January the 18th of 2002. Easy for me to remember, it was 18 days after I retired from the Army. I call the movie 70 to 75% accurate, very, very well done. My input to the movie was just slightly more than zero because I was still on active duty. I didn't even know they were making a movie, as a matter of fact, until the commander of 3rd Ranger Battalion called me and said, "Sir," we were talking, his name is Craig Nixon, and Craig was with me in Somalia. He was with me in Panama as well. Been in combat twice together. They never let us serve together after that. I think we get in trouble too much, you know. But Craig was a commander of 3rd Battalion, called me and said, "Sir, I just want to talk to you a little bit and let you know that I sent a platoon over to do the fast roping in the movie." And my response to Craig was, "Craig, that's great. What movie are you talking about?" He said, "Nobody's told you they're filming Black Hawk Down?" I said, "Oh, is that the movie?" He said, "Yeah." So anyway, he informed me of that. And I said, "That's great." He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You may get a call or two from over there because the 2 technical advisors were, one of them you saw up here, Tom Matthews. He had retired and he was hired. And Lee Van Arsdale was another retired colonel who they hired that was over there with us. Said they may call you and ask a few questions. Said, plus the actor that's going to portray you in the movie may call you too. He's got the number." I said, "An actor's going to portray me in the movie?" He goes, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, it's not like they're going to use my name." That was his response. He was totally silent when I said that. He then said, "Well, sir, yes, sir, they're going to use your name." I said, "Craig, shouldn't they at least talk to me and know that that's okay?" He said, "Sir, you in uniform right now?" I said, "Sure I am." He said, "What's it say over that one pocket?" I said, "U.S. Army." He said, "Yeah, they got their permission. They didn't need yours. You still belong to them." That's the truth. That's how I found out the movie was being made. I didn't have a clue. And there were 4 phone calls. 2 from Tom and Lee called me, and then the actor that portrayed me in the movie called me twice. I answered his questions, as he told me later, very short, succinct, and to the point, and gave me no other information. If you saw the movie, you know the actor that portrayed me is Tom Sizemore. You will notice that Tom Sizemore is a much bigger guy than I am, but he's not near as good looking as I am. One of these days, I'm going to get an audience that will not laugh at that, okay? I'm still trying. But anyway, we actually met about 1.5 years after the movie came out. And, you know, he's a good actor, but I did get a little bothered by the fact they had to get a guy bigger, especially when Linda and I were in California at a Wounded Warrior event, and the guest of honor that night was Gary Sidis, who is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life, who really takes care of our young men and young women in uniform, as we all know. And Linda was taking our picture, and we're standing there, and then after she finishes, she looks at him and says, "You know what? You should have played Danny in the movie because y'all are exactly the same size," which we are. He said, "Well, actually I auditioned for that, but they said I was too small." That's all a fact, folks, every bit of it. But anyway, I'm glad the movie came out because it allowed you to at least get an idea of what took place over there. I believe the Black Hawk Down book describes it fairly well. But I'm also a believer that when there is a rest of the story, you deserve to know that too. So I wrote a book. Gary almost fell out of his chair when I first told him that, okay? Actually, he didn't, but I did write a book. Some of you may have seen it when you were over there in the breakfast line. It's this book right here called Streets of Mogadishu, subtitled Leadership at its Best. Leadership, folks, talking about in the streets of Mogadishu by young sergeants, by young lieutenants and captains, making the hard, right decisions, getting things done. Because I promise you, the number of people that we did lose over there, had it not been for great leadership by young sergeants and officers, we would have lost 3 times as many as we did. because leadership made a difference that day. Making the hard, right decisions right then and there, not getting a chance. And how were they able to do that? Because they based it on the fact that they had great integrity, they had great honor, and that's what it was all about to them in the streets, taking care of each other, doing the hard, right thing, having the personal courage to do the hard, right thing. And for the young people sitting in here, I want you to know, you will have challenges. They're out there, and it's okay. You'll deal with those challenges, and you'll be successfully dealing with them based on the great integrity and honor that you develop in your life. And you've got great examples of it right here. The people that are here to support you and help you. That's what Black Hawk Down is to me today. It's a lesson in great leadership, personal courage, selfless service. That's what it's all about. It's not a battle. And so I wrote a book because you deserve to know the rest of the story. Leadership at its best. There's another little subtitle there called Political Correctness at its Worst. Just so you'll know, and I'm sure it didn't shock Gary at all, I proclaim to be the most politically incorrect person in America. And I feel pretty positive that's a correct statement because about 6 years ago, I was speaking in San Diego, California. A former Marine came up to me and said, "So you think you're the most politically incorrect person in America?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "You know, I've always claimed to be that, but I'm second, you're first." I said, "Thank you." Coming from a Marine, that's a great compliment, I believe. But I wrote this because I wanted people to understand the rest of the story. There's only one chapter in this book that talks about Black Hawk Down, chapter 10. That's the only chapter. I wanted you to know the decisions because they talk about the decisions and stuff in here that I talk about are based on those LDRSHIP words, leadership. And that's what it's about. The first 3 chapters in here does not even mention anything about Black Hawk Down. The first 3 chapters talk about leadership. Because the future of America right here, the future of America right here needs to understand how important leadership is every day. And there are so many great leaders in here, in the adults that are here, doing what you do every day to set the example for the young people. Showing them what integrity is and how important their character is to them for the rest of their life. Well, this book, I do have some with me. Gary and I talked about that, and they were very nice to say, "Yes, please do, bring some." And what I do is I charge $20 for the book. If you look at the back of the book, you're going to say, it says $17.95. Well, the other $2.05 normally goes to Wounded Warriors, which we've been blessed to give over $3,000 because of that little book that Danny McKnight wrote. And it's an easy read, I promise. I wrote it. I graduated from Cocoa High School. It's an easy read, okay? Do I have any former Marines in here? And I promise you there's pictures for y'all, so no problem. You knew that was coming, didn't you? You knew it was coming, didn't you? I have fun, folks, just so you know, okay? But anyway, what Linda and I are going to do today is with that $2.05 that we give to Wounded Warriors, we're going to give it back to you. That $2.05 out of every book goes to you for enhancing and hopefully helping with the Character Coalition and the development. So that is our gift to y'all today. So what that means, though, is every one of you need to buy a book so you get the $2.05 back, okay? But it's our way of saying thank you for letting us be here with you. But more importantly, thank you for this great opportunity to gather young people together. Because I know that's what it's all about. It really is. And I look out there at all the young faces, the young men and women that I'm looking at. And y'all are in pretty good hands, folks. Y'all are in pretty good hands. And that's what we need to remember. With that being said, thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting Linda and I share this morning with you. And I'll be around afterwards because I don't have to rush off. I only have to drive to Panama City Beach tonight because we have an event called Warrior Beach Retreat that happens twice a year in Panama City Beach, and we've only missed one out of the 6 years they've been doing it. So we've got to get down there to spend a couple of days with 25 of our wounded warriors and their spouses, or somebody always comes with them, and we get to go spend a couple of days with them. So thank you all from the bottom of our heart for letting us be here. God bless you, each and every one, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel, for your good character and for your service to our country. Thank you so much. Good morning. I give honor to God and I thank Him for allowing us to be here today. I am Barbara Caldwell. No tomatoes. And I'm here today. I'm the chair of the Scholarship Selection Committee. And I think that's only because I was absent that day. And that's a lesson. Don't ever be absent when they're giving out assignments. This year's scholarship process was by far one of the most difficult and challenging ones that we've ever judged. All of the applicants were outstanding. We had every school, all five high schools were represented, and the Harvester Christian Academy was represented. And so we had great participation, and that's what made it so difficult, because all of our applicants were very outstanding. Before I go any further, I would like to introduce to you the committee who participated in this selection. Pastor Gary Warner, if you stand please, or raise your hand. Pastor B.J. Sumter, Judge Robert Watley, who's been under the weather, he's not with us today, Pam Nail, and we had two alternates. Ann Jones Guider is always on every committee. She has a lot of work to do, so she helped us out. And Tammy Howard served as an alternate today. So we thank you all for your participation. Just a side note, Pam Nail is assistant superintendent, so she did not participate in the voting for obvious reasons. But she was very instrumental in getting all of the applications together and for organizing them, as well as Ann did to help her out. This year, we did it a little bit differently. The winners do not know who won which amounts, and we did that because we wanted it to be kind of like a surprise. And as I call your name, and as you see it on the screen, you're going to see a lot of the activities that they have performed and been involved in. Community service, and I'm not talking about community service because they're on probation or anything like that. Just service that they have given to the community. And you will see only a portion of all of the things that they participate in. I think about that show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? You know, and I think about when they get down to Are You Smarter Than a 2-year-old, I might participate in that one. But our young people are, they are just outstanding. I can't say enough about them. And if the star teachers are present, if you would come up as I call their names as well, please. First we have Autumn Alexandra Cole. And And you will see some of the things that she has participated in up there. And I'd just like to add a few others. And her star teacher is Mr. Andy Daniel. Hey, Star. Autumn is the daughter of Greg and Joan Cole. Autumn has had perfect attendance. Autumn, is that for 12 years or for? 7th grade through 12th grade. Perfect attendance. She plans to attend Jacksonville State University with a bachelor's in nursing degree as her intended major. She has been on several mission trips in and out of the states, setting up Bible clubs, feeding the homeless, and working with children. Autumn has a humanitarian heart. Even though each of her teachers from pre-K through 12th grade have had an impact in developing her positive character, she says that Mr. Andy Daniel stands out as having the most positive impact. He put a spark inside her to make her want to strive for excellence and high moral character as she developed as a leader. He encouraged her to jump out of her comfort zone and persevere no matter what the circumstance. Autumn believes an individual must always take into account the effect their actions will have on other people. Thank you, Autumn. No, stay up. You got to stay with me. I'm not, hey. Yeah. If I got to stay, I got to stay. Okay. Madeline Gibbs. Madeline is the daughter of Evan and Melanie Gibbs, and her star teacher is Mrs. Vicki Burnett. Autumn is a student of the International Baccalaureate program at Douglas County High. She plans to attend Auburn University with an intended major in architecture. Her star teacher, who has had the most positive impact on her, is Mrs. Vicki Burnett. She says Mrs. Burnett, being a committed Christian, has been a great role model for her beginning in the 9th grade. And she says Ms. Burnett has taught her not to be afraid or ashamed to express her faith and to live her faith out openly. And that she says that she has taught her how to think for herself and to think critically about the assumptions people make. Madeline believes in treating others as she wishes to be treated. In her experience, people with integrity, honesty, caring, and other positive traits are highly respected and valued. That's the kind of positive character Mrs. Burnett has demonstrated before her. Thank you, Madeline. Taylor McLinden, and her star teacher is her mother, Christy McLinden. Okay, Taylor is the daughter of Christy McLinden. Taylor has volunteered at several breast cancer events, including the Relay for Life, and she plans to attend Georgia College and State University and to major in athletic training and pre-physician's assistant. Her star teacher is none other than her mother, Mrs. Christy McLinden, who was her first grade teacher. Taylor says that her mother didn't treat her any different from any of the other children. In fact, she says it was just the opposite. She made her call her Mrs. McLinden in the classroom. She says her mother loved every child in her class. The glow she had from teaching radiated. Taylor says that she wants to love her job as her mother did, and to find her passion just as her mother found her passion. I would like to read an excerpt from her entry, and I quote, "My mother impacted my character that year by showing me passion and the true meaning of treating everyone as equal. The act of equality has attached itself to my character. I tried, just as she did, to treat everyone the same with love and care, just as my mother did. My character was forever impacted by that year in first grade. I became driven to be someone and became aware of actions that seem so small to me, but that can have a great impact on life. My mom helped chisel my character into what it is today, and I am truly grateful," unquote. Thank you. Now, I'd just like to say a few of the qualifications for the scholarships. The students must be graduating seniors from a public or private high school, or a graduating senior from a homeschool program. They must be a Douglas County resident. They must have a cumulative average of 3.0 or higher. And the student must plan to attend an institute of higher learning. Student must provide documentation of active participation in service projects and community service, and they must demonstrate positive character qualities at all times. And student must submit a recommendation letter from the school and from the community. And the STAR teachers will get a $50 scholarship to be used in their activities in their classroom to promote character. All right. The $500 bronze scholarship goes to an Alexander High School student by the name of Taylor McLinden. All right. Our $1,000 civil scholarship is awarded to Madeline Gibbs. She's from Douglas County High School. All right, and our gold scholarship, guess who? Is awarded to Autumn Alexandra Cole, Alexander High School. Let's give all of our winners a great big hand. We appreciate all the work you've done. You've had excellent work. And just remember, we are so proud of you. We love you. We thank you so much for your participation. And if it's anything that Character Coalition can do to further your careers, just let us know. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much for coming. Hope you enjoyed your breakfast, and I know you enjoyed the great speaker that we had this morning, and I know that you're very proud of our winners today, and we thank you for coming. See you again next year. Or no, we're gonna see you at the golf tournament. All right.